comments. Sorry, I can't put it in the little holder until I fix everything. But I do have you over here today. Hopefully you'll stay. Okay. I don't know how long my eyes will tolerate the ring light, but for now, it'll work. So we're going to talk about a couple of different things today. And in all honesty, I probably should be intimidated to talk about this, but I'm not. I probably should be afraid, but I'm not. However, it did take me a while, and it does often take me a while, to work up my courage to speak publicly about these things. And you'll see why once I give you my perspective on this. Now, I'm seeing something that's problematic again. Everybody knows that one of my wheelhouses, or something that's in my wheelhouse, my personal wheelhouse, is pattern detection. My pattern recognition is just off the chain, especially since all this started in 2018. And I'm seeing a disturbing pattern in a certain theory being presented. And I'll be very blunt with you. I believe that certain individuals on here have been bribed or intimidated into talking about this in one way or another. They've been paid off, and some of them out of desperation, and I'll get into that in another video. But I'm seeing this pattern, and again, what they're trying to do is put the criminal, and that would be whoever's committing crimes against humanity at this point, they're trying to slide that criminal into the victim role. And so I want to present to you a different perspective, which is what I try to do on this channel. And pun intended, I am going to play devil's advocate in this video. I am going to give you summations about this is what I think Satan would do, and this is what I would do if I were him, and this is how I would operate, type of thing. Now, let me be blunt. I've been warned by other small channels. They think that I don't know they're talking about me, or again, they don't say my name, but they are local people that I know, mostly women, because as you'll see later in this video, many women have knowingly and willingly, unlike myself, signed off on this so that they could have easier lives, cush lives, lives with luxury. One of them tells you her name. I think it's Cindy. She has a few small channels. The woman has never shown her face. She will never show her face unless it's a fake AI image. I know this person. I know where she works. And ironically enough, these businesses and these people that tell you they're there to help with something are really finding creative ways to get in your life and get in your homes. And I've told you before, do not consent to that type of shenanigan. And I know this woman. I sold makeup to her. And I've heard her and a couple other women specifically address this part of the topic. And I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to talk about Nephilim. They don't like that. They don't want you to know about that. That should make you suspicious. That should make you want to know more about that topic when they are not even using reverse psychology. They're not even bothering with it. They're just shutting it down. Most of the mainstream churches, churchianity, they don't want you to know about this topic. And as I said, the local women that I recognize by voice because I've worked with them have made veiled threats on their channels. Oh, there's this girl and she talks about the Nephilim. Look, you need to understand what's happening in this time. This whole alleged fake alien invasion, it already happened a long time ago. They are here with us. And I hate to make videos about this group against that group. That's not really what this is about. This is about consent. This is about understanding where you're at and knowing how to operate in the time that we are in. I am a pacifist. I do not believe in holy wars or, wars against each other, even because of species. I think everyone should have the agency of choice and free will. Unfortunately, we still use that to hurt each other, and I don't believe we should do that. So we're going to talk about first incubator babies, and it's not going to seem related to you, but we're going to slide into a Nephilim talk as well. I'm going to get started. I'm going to try not to look at the chat, but please offer your help. I do go back over the chats afterwards, offer your own theories and bits of research that you have dug up. The only thing I really block is hatred and bots. I block bots. So here we go. We're gonna start, and I did already pasted some links. Oh, hello. We're gonna start with the incubator babies. And let's start with something easier to digest regarding this topic, because I got a couple interesting sources here. This one is very interesting. Now, you know, I try to gather information that is 2017 and before that. So let's check that out. It's only showing one person in the chat, so I'm not sure what's going on. Why, you know, I don't know. Oh, so this is pasted in the description box. This is from Arizona State University, circa 2017. There goes the local squirrel up his tree. I'm not feeling great. Things have been rough. And when I talk about this, usually before I talk about this, spiritual warfare increases. They know the future, not all of it, but they know a little bit into the future, very short term. I don't know how short, but I know that they still have the gifts that God gave them. So they're still able to work outside of time to an extent. And we're going to talk about time and what it means when we say end times. We're going to tie that into the Nephilim at the close of this video. So I have it all planned out. Try to keep it within 45 minutes. I want it to be easy, digestible pieces for people. I know most of people don't have long attention spans anymore. And I know most people, you know, we are told in scripture, there's not a lot of actual organic human beings in the end times. There's just not. And if God did not intervene, then no flesh would be saved. And so I'm well aware that a lot of the views that I do get in part are from people who dislike me, beings who like strongly dislike me. And they want this. And please understand, they still torment me. They can only reach me in my sleep now. They can't seem to get at me during the day. So sleep has been hard. But a tip I can offer you there, especially if you're a TI, is pray. And you have to say what you consent to. I will have a good night's sleep. No one will intervene. I do not consent to anyone entering my space, that type of thing. So this is Embryo Project Encyclopedia. I thought that heading right there was pretty fantastical. So I clicked on it to see what it was all about. Now this is from Arizona State University. 2017, but we're going to go further back into time to clippings from like 1888 and the World's Fair. I don't title my videos beforehand exactly what they are anymore, and that is by design. I do that intentionally, just so you're aware. I turn off my cell phone at night so they can't download my mind. Yeah, I'm going to have to start doing that. I don't sleep well to begin with, but I'm going to have to start just shutting it down because I do think that these frequencies are how they're able to manipulate you to the point where you are literally your own worst enemy when you are most vulnerable. So I like to hide around corners and jump scare them when I hear them coming. Mine have been creeping around the corners again, like peeking. It's so bizarre. And I don't know, like, I don't know how they behave outside of the house or away from me, but even people on television now, like they think they're coming off as being men and women, but it's all coming off as very poor acting and pretending to be men and women. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's just the truth. Faraday cage. I do have EMF bags for them. So yeah. So they made contacts where you can see in the dark, but entities were lunging at the user. Right. I've done videos on that. On the lenses. They were actually military grade lenses. Exactly. Exactly. I see those things now. Since I've started fasting, since I've cleaned out my temple more, they call it demon face syndrome. But again, you have to understand, you have to be able to look at something and say, okay, this is misdirection. They don't want me looking at this topic, so they're trying to kill it dead in the water. You have to understand when they're using reverse psychology and when they are using strong misdirection and pointing you in another direction. You have these women with these smaller channels now talking about Satan's short season, but they will not talk about the Nephilim with it. You cannot talk about incubator babies and not talk about the issues of infertility, the end of time, the millennial reign, and how people probably won't procreate, and how a lot of people were made infertile. And that, again, was by design. Not everybody, but these people who are mingling aren't fertile. This is the reason for the orphan trains. And regular men and women, most of them, although we're flawed, we love our children, we would not consign them to live in orphanages and be chimney sweeps. They got rid of the parents, and nobody's making this connection either. So I'm going to read from this article. It's called Embryo Project Encyclopedia from Arizona State University, Martin County, Couney, which is interesting considering it's wild the way this topic goes. And incubator exhibits from 1896 to 1943. This is by somebody named Kelsey Losey. It was published on 7/20/2017. So again, media literacy is a huge part of my channel. If you don't understand how to recognize gaslighting and misdirection, I talk about that every video. You can't not talk about that and be presenting people with the truth in these times. And you have to know that when these people get to degrading others and they get to undermining certain things and they get to like just shutting it down, they won't even hear. There's a reason for that. And it's because they are on the other team knowingly. And again, real mankind, I don't think there's a lot of us left anymore. Okay, so during the late 1800s, I'm checking the time, and 1900s, physician Martin County, which is weird because Coney Island, Coney, is where they end up having exhibits of these babies. And his name is Martin Couney, Couney, but it could be pronounced the same way, Coney. So they do that a lot with these types of historical references. Oh, and the last thing I want to mention is when reading these things and looking at these old images, please understand that they could have started releasing these things and made these images to fabricate an entire period of history that just didn't exist. Now, we know World's Fairs happened because you have movies like Meet Me in St. Louis, which is very, fairly old at this point, and most of our parents made us watch it when we were children. So at his exhibits, Coney demonstrated that isolating premature infants in an incubator ward could significantly decrease premature infant mortality and increase the use of incubators in the U.S. That's key too. Only in the U.S. Why? Why is it only in the U.S.? Why are we like dispendable? They sell us, they do this, they do that. Question everything because we are not even where they say we are. Coney, it says Coney, the guy, studied medicine in Berlin and Leipzig. And again, you have that German connection. And I'll just reference real quickly Project Paperclip. And again, it's in France. It's always a French doctor, man. Everything I love is like being revealed. Boudin was an obstetrician who established infant care facilities throughout hospitals in Paris. Boudin also worked with Etienne Stéphane Ternier, who developed one of the first infant warming devices. In 1896, Boudin sent Coney to the Berlin Exposition in Berlin, Germany, to show a new incubator model and promote its use throughout Europe. Hold, please. So when I get to the end of presenting you with some research, I'm going to present you with a couple of the theories that I have that are alternate to what everybody else is pushing. So once we go through a little of this information, I will tell you what I think is happening here, and then we'll get in, it's our segue into the Nephilim. Because again, the people who aren't talking about that at this point are deceivers. Okay, so this happened in 1896. Now, I also know for a fact I had a book, but Sammy ate it, from the late 1800s by a French author who they thought it was the end of the world, the end of time in the late 1888, 1800s because of how destitute France had become and the whole Tale of Two Cities, French Revolution. Allegedly, things never improved over there, and we have been lied to. Did you know, incidentally, to point to that real quick, when women visit France, if they have some type of mental breakdown, they actually have a name for that. They have a name for women who have a mental breakdown when they arrive in France. Why is that? They say it's because it's not how they expect it to be. Insinuating, once again, that mental illness can be propagated onto somebody. Why would all these women have a mental illness from going to France? Either they're enjoying all these women who are touristing and traveling alone and they are taking them and doing whatever with them. Your rights are severely important. Although we're talking about spiritual warfare, you have to understand that your actual verbal words and the documents you sign matter. And the agreements that you click on your cell phone, which we've talked about ad nauseum. Okay, so this is 1896 when they already thought that the world was ending. And one more thing happening at that same time around the world is you have Joseph Smith and the whole Mormon growth period in America. Okay, so just keep that in your mind too. And I'm not saying that I'm not promoting him and I'm not denigrating him. I'm saying these things were happening at the same time on the earth. And usually I'm really involved with the chat, but I can't look at it right now because I have a lot to address and I want to keep your attention because I do believe this is a vitally important topic. And again, if the other channels like Leaving Babylon, they're not talking about this. They want you to think that, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate. They want you to think it's the end of Satan's short season and that we're going to enter a golden age. I don't know that that's true. I think we should be suspicious right now of anything that looks too good to be true. And we should also just ask questions about everything because these are our lives. And we've handed over agencies to all these other systems that we have. And they're not even people. And we've lost a lot doing that. We've lost our free will. And most people don't realize it. That's why I talk about consent. Okay, you also have Slender Man. I talk about this all the time. Slender Man and all the boogeymen come from German occultism. And it's the whole idea of if you talk about a thing enough, you give it a life of its own. That also ties into all of this. They're using our own energy against us. And it's key that you understand that. I don't make money doing this. This is my work. Small bit of work. I might not be able to change the world, but maybe I can change my small corner. Maybe I can change one or two minds into not giving away their agency and the agency of their children. Okay, moving on. So you have all of these things happening on the earth at the same time. It said he was an obstetrician. He established infant care facilities throughout hospitals in Paris. It said in 1896, he sent Abud sent Coney to the Berlin Exposition. At the exposition in Berlin, understand exposition is another word for fair as well. They've changed everything on us and made all these very strange, maybe negative things and ritualistic behaviors look like daily practice, look like things you're just supposed to be doing. You ever wonder why on television, back in the day, men and women didn't share a room and then they even had to have separate beds? If everyone knew where babies came from, why was it like that? You gotta ask questions. All that stuff ties into this same time period as well. At the exposition fair in Berlin, Coney held an exhibit called the Kinderbrut-Anstalt. My German is not great. Just ask Rose that I used to care for, who was German. Dementia. I'm going to get ALS myself if I don't be careful. A Kinderbrutanstalt was a child hatchery to demonstrate the effectiveness of infant incubators. Upon arriving in Berlin, Coney obtained 6 premature infants from the director of the Charité Hospital. Charity Hospital, Rudolf Virchow. All 6 infants were expected to die. Coney kept all 6 again, in incubators in a pavilion at the exposition. Over 100,000 visitors paid to see the infants. All 6 infants survived for the first 2 months of the fair. 6, and then they repeated it 3 times. Do you see? Do you see how to recognize the have a little bit of symbolic awareness when you're reading your media literacy. So another question to keep in the back of your mind is, why is infertility rampant? Or why do you have all of these children and no parents? It's one of 3 things I've narrowed it down to. Either A, they got rid of all the parents. Something happened and everybody over the age of like prepubescent age was gotten rid of and eliminated. Somehow, some way, something happened. Was it the Great Tribulation and their parents were the martyred saints? And so now you have this excessive baby thing. I know everybody wants to say clones. I'm not going there. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people. But if you dig into that even just a little bit, it doesn't make any sense. Our bodies, our souls are what they are after. With a cloned body, yes, I do believe there are synthetic like droid things, but that's not a clone. And remember, clone means twin. I do believe in IVF and all those scientific things, but cloning's a little different. I don't believe that God would allow the type of cloning that people are talking about in regards to this. And I'll get into that. Again, the reason that they want us against each other is because you remember in Job how Satan couldn't kill, he could do anything he wanted to Job, but God would not allow him to kill him. Most of us are in that same boat right now. God will not allow them that agency to end us. Therefore, they're trying to get our consent passively to either end ourselves or end each other. Okay? So let's get through some more of this. In Britain's 1897 Victorian era exhibit in London, England, Coney brought infants for the display from France. Coney transported premature infants. Now, why do you have so many premature infants as well? Again, the Nephilim come into this. And oddly enough, the show's supernatural. We're going to bounce there in just a few minutes. So right now we're reading how this started and the man who created it and how it traveled across the earth. Okay, so it says, there we go. Coney transported premature infants on a boat via the English Channel in baskets with hot water bottles to keep the infants warm. I wonder if that's where like the stork imagery comes from. Like, oh, here's the baby with the stork. But again, none of these babies had parents. Why? It's not because they were clones. It's because they got rid of the parents. Now we have 2 possibilities. Why did they get rid of the parents? Was it A, the tribulation saints, and it was all their children left behind? That's why they're treated like garbage and made to be like chimney sweeps and stuff, because they hate us even more because we're Christians. Now, who are we left here with, though? We're left here with the fallen. We're left here with the Nephilim. But people say, well, after Noah, they were eliminated. No, they weren't. And the book tells us that they were not eliminated. You have people out there with big YouTube channels who are in the club, like Taylor Marshall. He will not discuss this topic. He says, I was just reading his website. He says it's Macadamians versus the Greek. And that's why the babies were labeled as monsters. No, that's not true. They were labeled as monsters because they had no empathy. They had no empathy because some of them, well, 2 reasons. One, because they didn't know how to raise children, you see, because they were the leftovers. It was the fallen progeny trying to raise children. Now, again, you have 2 groups and you have a mixed group. So you have 3 groups of beings that look the same. You have mankind, you have the fallen angels who can change what they look like, and you have Nephilim, hybrids, which are a combination of both. You have all 3 of us right here on Earth at the same time. The reasons they want the human bodies and cloning doesn't even matter to them is because we have agency on the Earth. The Earth was given to mankind. They hate when I say this. They hate when I talk about it. The Earth was given to mankind. We run it. We own it. They are getting out of line now. All we have to do is stand up and say, we do not consent to our children being sold. We do not consent to our children being abused. And it stops the second you verbalize these things. And I know because that's how I gained my free will back. from things like hypnotism that they admitted to doing against my knowledge, awareness, and consent. So I see that people stopped watching now, but this is the bare truth. This is raw. Now, it says that in 1898, Coney coordinated his first show in the U.S. So 1898, you have the first show in the U.S. happening. It was at the Trans-Mississippian International Exhibition, which again, fair, in Omaha, Nebraska. The rural location did not attract large crowds, and Coney returned to Europe in 1900 to host an exhibit at the Exposition Universelle in Paris. Now again, these people don't care about children. They seem to have a steady supply of them. Ask yourself why the handmaiden's tale was shown. Was it shown to get passive consent from a bunch of childbearing women in this time? They are really pushing for babies to be born, and there's a reason for that, and I hate to say that. I hate to say that, because I know we're told to go forward and multiply. But that was in the beginning we were told that. We're also told not to mix. You need to question certain things and why certain people have decided to flip and suddenly, and they don't even care if you claim Jesus. They care about if you can see or not. If you are actually following the way and you are fasting and you are praying and you're denying yourself, you'll start to see these things very visibly. That's why they had to create this demon syndrome thing, because God is waking up a bunch of us at the same time. A bunch of us have very similar testimonies, going through narcissistic abuse. Guess what? It's by these other beings. And I still promote passivity because you don't know who's who. We don't know the difference. But I've gone over the physical attributes that some of them carry, especially the women. But the lack of empathy is a very clear sign. Physically speaking, most of them have blue eyes because they're angelic, part angelic. And unfortunately for most of humankind, we were never taught that angel can be good and bad too, just like human. Okay, so in 1901, he returns for the Pan American Exposition Fair, World's Fair, in Buffalo, New York. At this exposition, he housed infants in a building specially built for his exhibit in the amusement section of the exposition rather than the science section. The Pan American was a large fair, and Courtney's show attracted media attention from the public press and medical press alike. Articles appeared in Pediatrics, Scientific American, and Cosmopolitan about Coney's show in Buffalo. Following the exposition, the Children's Hospital of Buffalo bought several infant incubators. So here you're first starting, and you're also seeing the first probably away from home births, where women are moving away from midwives and being encouraged to see, hospitals have incubators now. You can go to a hospital, have your baby. If there's any problem, they can help you right there. Do you see how deep this goes and how far back? They are persecuting us who are waking up. Jesus Christ told us. Absolutely. Every time I get a Charlie horse, I become statically charged and shock people who try to help me. To be picked up, you have to be registered. The children weren't registered yet. I don't know if I disagree. I don't know if I agree with that. Okay, moving on. And yes, words have power, so let's try not to talk about our physical ailments anymore. We understand that certain things can have a physical effect on us, but if that keeps happening on my channel, I'll assume that those people are enemies of us, because words have power, and that's how it spreads. Spiritually speaking, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert, I'm no kind of expert, but spiritually speaking, that is how things spread, is through words. This is why when old people sit around talking about their ailments, they all end up having some kind of ailment. When I was a kid, I got taken to chickenpox parties all the time. Herd mentality, they said that's what it was. But was that really what it was? Careful. Because I've woke up almost all the way. And it says right in the book, God's elect cannot be fooled or deceived. And people will argue with me on that, but again, words are my wheelhouse. It says, if the elect could be fooled, but we can't, or that if wouldn't be there. Coney continued his display at Luna Park until 1940. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. Okay, so here we go. Despite the exhibits... Okay, we got to go back up. In 1903, he permanently immigrated this whole operation to the U.S., A year later, he opened a permanent exhibit in 1904 of incubators at Coney Island in New York, Brooklyn. That actually has a weird relation to my testimony. Coney held an exhibit in Luna Park from 1904 until 1943. Until 1943. In 1943, 1944 is when they developed the Vegan Society. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but Isaiah tells us that in the end times, people will stop eating animals. That's one of the prophecies. You don't have to agree with me. But again, all the big timers are telling you that's an agenda, that's an agenda. You ever heard of reverse psychology? They want you to hold on to your stuff and your material goods even stronger in this place. That's how they get your currency, your attention, your consent. When we stop not believing in their systems that they created anymore, they created money, they created government, they modeled it all after the Father. The fallen ones here did it, and mankind allowed it to happen because everything defaulted to them because we allowed it to happen. Oftentimes when people are taken into slavery, it happens and you don't realize you're a slave. You don't try to escape because you don't know you're in prison. Do you see? And I know I'm mixing a lot of things right now, but it's important you understand the misinformation around this whole topic so that going forward, you can look at it and play devil's advocate with yourself. Make yourself look at these topics from different angles. Force yourself to do that so you don't get stuck in any one deception, because all deceptions have a little bit of truth or people would not flock to them. Don't allow yourself to get comfortable. Question yourself. Question your conscience. Did I read this without any attachment? Did I read this without any preconceived notion? So it says in 1903, when he permanently moved it to the U.S., at Coney Island in Luna Park, he also held a short exhibit in Coney Island's other amusement park, Dreamland. Despite the exhibit's location in an amusement park, Coney treated premature infants of parents who could not afford proper medical care and did not charge for the care. How did he treat them, though? And with what? The names of the infants were kept anonymous. Boy, that's convenient. The public who came to see Coney's exhibit on Coney Island paid an admission fee of 25 cents. And understand that, too. A lot of these people, they make up. They're not going to show you their real faces, especially if they are the fallen ones or the hybrids. They can change that very easily. They're not going to show you their real face. They all have proxies. If they showed you their real face, they couldn't move about and do their nefarious deeds with such freedom. Okay? They know that regular mankind, we love our children, we love each other. Most of us don't come up with these nefarious ways to end each other, and that's all them. We learned war, we learned killing, we learned all of that stuff from these ones who fell. And people don't want to talk about it. However, that does not mean we're not accountable. We are accountable for the choices that we make. And we're accountable if we move through this and refuse to navigate and we stay in this state of cognitive dissonance that is intentional ignorance. That's not allowed. So this is where this one gets a little weird too. So again, remember, the names and the faces, they pretty much make up. They're putting the information out there for each other, and because they have to put certain information out there. The names of the infants were kept anonymous. The public who came to see them paid 25 cents. It says he employed 5 wet nurses to feed the infants and several other medically trained technicians, including his daughter, who was a nurse. Coney required the wet nurses to keep a strict diet because of their role in treatment of premature infants. Coney continued his display at Luna Park until 43. Again, end of World War II era, right before the Vegan Society was born. What if that's the reason for some of this right then? Right then, it would have been like the end of tribulation. And this is why you had a lot of babies, is because they ended the parents. They were the martyrs. That's one theory my mind is playing with. But we'll get to a few of the others. It says he continued his display until 43, claiming he wouldn't retire until the city hospitals opened up proper incubator wards, don't you know? So again, they wanted to move. This is the first step of the system, taking control of your agency and your child's agency. And I'm really starting to question now the age of consent. And that's how I started all this, was fighting to keep the age of consent. And now I'm really wondering, because of some of these guardians that children have. See, because we get used to somebody else being accountable for our mistakes until we hit 18. And then when we enter the real world, we're still used to somebody else being accountable, and we're no longer accountable. I think 18 is too late. Scripture, we had kings at the age of 15. 18 is too late, because now we are so used to passing off accountability. And you're going to say, well, Jen, isn't that what you're doing, talking about the fallen angels? Not at all. The truth is the truth, and the truth needs revealed. We can't navigate. We can't live properly. We can't have basic human joy unless we live in truth and live in the way that we were created to live and function in that role. Nobody is functioning in the natural role that we were intended for, and this is why most of us are so ailing at this point. Absolutely, absolutely. Even Billie Eilish has come out against the corn, you know? It is gross. Yes, and that's how I started being targeted, was speaking out against the radical groups of the rainbow hijackers. That's what I call them. Sorry if it offends you, but like, everybody's offended anymore, and everybody's always mad at me or offended. And I don't have anybody left after talking about these things. Nobody, and that's okay. Like, I literally, legit don't mind. Okay, so we're gonna move now to another source. This is from Colombia. And again, I'm trying to use what the world considers credible sources to make my point even stronger. And again, this whole video, a lot of these videos, I'm playing devil's advocate for a reason, because nobody else is doing it. The Incubator Babies of Coney Island. This is ridiculous. And the way the adults handle the babies, like, you can legitimately tell they've had no experience with infants. In one of the old films of this era, where they had all the little babies in the cute Cabbage Patch thing, she was holding the child up by the child's foot, and just holding it there, and the child was screaming, and she was doing some musical routine. Like, what are you doing? You don't know how a child needs to be cared. Like, I just don't understand. But again, they're trying to flip the tables and make, they're trying to now, they always try to move to the space of the victims so that nobody ever pinpoints them and nobody accuses them. They hate exposure. If we all expose them at the same time and started talking about this aspect, they would flee. Scripture tells us that very clearly. Okay, so this one is from Pediatric Surgery at Columbia. This is from the year, oh heavens, it doesn't even say. No, this is just like a, History of Medicine, the Incubator Babies of Coney Island. And that makes me suspicious too. I hate when, remember, like all this stuff can be made. It doesn't mean that this whole era happened, although there's good film proof, as far as, like I said, Meet Me in St. Louis and all that type of stuff. We're going to talk about the 1,000 years too. I'm going to try and fit that in. This won't be too much longer. I'll try. It will be under an hour, but we're going to switch to something else in a minute. It took a war, famine, and poultry to develop the technological breakthrough responsible for saving thousands of premature infants. Why do you have all these premature infants, though? The Franco-Prussian War in 1870 and 1871, along with, I don't even know this word, concomitant famine, had contributed to a significant population decline, again, France, to increase the growth rate. And again, you had this immigration that nobody talks about. I'm French, so I know now. A lot of the immigration, a lot of the people that were the first immigrators were from France. And France is also where I believe the true Holy Grail went once persecution started. And I believe the Grail is a person. And I don't really care if the church disagrees with me anymore. Talking about the people that are trying to control us, right? Right. Right. Absolutely. So where do we go? To increase the growth rate, the French needed to start having more babies as quickly as possible. But one obstetrician realized that if he could find a way to reduce infant mortality, then the population growth rate problem could be solved far sooner. Meaning if he could keep more babies alive. But where's the parents? Like, they're still not mentioning, okay, you have all these premature babies, but they don't stay in incubators forever. Where's the original parents? They're letting you display their children like they're at a circus. No, I'm sorry, no. No human parent in their right mind would allow this type of heinous behavior unless they are a severely lost to, like, debauchery. No normal parent would allow this stuff. And we're all flawed. We've all done bad, wicked things to harm each other. Nobody here is innocent. But we wouldn't do this. People wouldn't do this. Okay, so in 1880, they were introduced in the maternity ward in France. He began publishing his successes of these incubators in 1888. There's a few years that really stand out with all this, isn't there? All right. Nestled between exhibits of the Congo village and the Tyrolean yodelers, Coney's Kinderbrutenstalt, or child hatchery, became a wild success. Remarkably, all 6 babies survived. From there, he took his entourage to the U.S., where he went on to share his show at virtually every large exhibition at the World's Fair. We're going to move along here, and I think we're going to go to the Smithsonian, if I can find it. Most of us know how we feel about the Smithsonian at this point. Holy Grail, a person, I've heard of that saying. I'm going to the corner store. Did you need anything? The man who ran a carnival attraction that saved thousands of babies wasn't a doctor at all. I thought this was interesting. Martin Coney carried a secret with him, but the results are unimpeachable. Okay, so here he is holding one of those babies like he doesn't know what to do with it. Nurses, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not going to lay out the groundwork for you. I just want you to know. A sign above the entrance read, "Living babies in incubators," in letters so large they could be read from the other end of the Chicago World's Fair, which took place over 18 months in 1933 and 1934. The infant incubator exhibit was built at a cost of $75,000, worth $1.4 million today, and was painted a patriotic red, white, and blue. There's a few ways this could go. And a couple of them get weird. So if you're with me this long, surprise, around the 45-minute mark, we get weird. For infertility is spoken of in the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher. I just looked it up, so I know. It's fresh in my mind. It reads in Enoch as it's a punishment for sin. In Jasher, husbands, men, give it to the women to intentionally make them infertile. God allows that to happen. In the canon Bible, we are told that infertility happens and that God at times will open a woman's womb to give life into it. So we see a few different evidences there of different things. Number one, if somebody repents, God can fix anything physical. Like, that's not even a thing with me, so I'm not even going to entertain certain thoughts. But which is it? Is it a punishment or, well, it could be both of these. Is it the result of angels trying to copulate? Are all the infertile people that we have here now, do they not have completely human blood or DNA? Are they infertile because they come from the angelic realm and they're not supposed to procreate? Is it a punishment for human women who procreate with fallen angels who present as males? Because yes, I believe they might be able to present as both. Their actual beings are androgynous, they say. In Lot, the men try to beat down the doors to reach these angels to know them, and most of us know what that means by now. So again, you have a physical representation of an angel, and the men, for whatever reason, throughout history are attracted to that. I don't know why. Straight women, most of us don't understand it. But some men, when they get to a point where they have blinded themselves, or again, they go down that road, this is why corn is dangerous. Corn is a gateway. It is a gateway to demons. Drugs are a gateway to the demonic realm. They tell you it's a gateway, but they don't tell you a gateway to what? And I spoke to all of this. I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who unfortunately grew up with the occult around me, and my mother was occult, and I have attributes that they like to hijack, exploit, and steal. So moving on. Nephilim. Let me read to you something. And this is from a TV show called Supernatural. But again, I want to keep this digestible for people. And I want it to be somewhere where people can go look. That's not just the Bible. Because it's hard to, like, you have to Google each book in the Bible, and then you have to try and figure out which chapter and verse it's in. Then you have to gather context. This isn't one of those videos. This isn't a research with me video. So for right now, we're going to look at the television show Supernatural, because it gives us a lot of clues about things. And you do have human beings working in TV too who are trying to tell us things. And also, they just like to mock us. They like to be right in front of us, mocking us without us doing anything, because they think that pacifism or anti-violence means weak. Christ is one of the strongest people I know. He wasn't weak. Okay, so I'm on a website right now called Supernatural Wiki. It is like the wiki page for television shows and tropes. And so you could type any show in, and it'll tell you the canon, just like the Bible. It'll tell you the canon for that show. This has truth in it, and it's all in one place. So it's easier than me going to the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasher. So I'm just going to read from this real quickly. But we will get to the Book of Jasher and Enoch again in future videos. All worship of movement, karma, future, but eventually always. Okay. That's really gross, though. You don't need to say certain things there. Truth is good, but let's keep it. All worship is of movement. That's why you're not supposed to pray to anybody silly. I don't know if you're calling me silly or saying don't pray to anyone that is silly. Anyway, moving on. This is the wiki page for Supernatural. This is the subtopic, the Nephilim. And it's going to tell you about the lore regarding the Nephilim. You're going to ask me, what does this have to do with incubator babies? Everything. Everything. It has everything to do with it. And again, nobody else is talking about it. The Nephilim are infertile. Most of them. The fallen angels, infertile. They could not procreate unless they had a human partner. All right? So that explains a lot of the babies. They were stolen from humans. However, there's also something else happening, and it's happening now, and you need to hear this to understand it. The Nephilim babies, the hybrid babies, grow like that. Like that. That's why they play with time, because they want you to recognize how quickly they are growing, or maybe how quickly you are growing. So they play with time. This is something they do, I'm seeing. They play with time more often than you think. A Nephilim is a hybrid creature conceived by an angel and a human. The offspring contains a mixture of human soul and angelic grace as a source of power inherited from both parents. Whenever a Nephilim grows into their power, entire worlds will die. And again, not all of this is true, but there's information here that is true that I've already read over it, so I know that. But we can go and find it. I know where it's at in Jasher and Enoch too. But again, this is to make it easier to digest in this video. Whenever a Nephilim grows into their power, entire worlds die, and the Nephilim is destined to become more powerful than the angel that created them. As a result, conceiving a Nephilim is strictly forbidden by the laws of heaven. True. And the punishment is death of the celestial parent along with the child. Not true. God did not do that. He let them grow. Remember the flood? He let all the Canaanites, Rephaim, and Nephilim grow into adults. It was when they started eating his children, eating people, that was the end of that. With Jack's ascension, this is a Nephilim on the show, as the new god, it is unknown if that law is still in effect. Yeah, God doesn't instantly end both parents. Now, characteristics. As stated, Nephilim are the result of procreation between a human and an angel or archangel occupying a vessel, or they like to call us containers. Nephilim have glowing eyes like an angel. There's some truth to that. I've noticed that many of them wear contacts, and they hide their eyes a lot if they do take their contacts out. So something is going on there. But is it reptilian? Is it cat-like? Is it glowy yellow? Is it iridescent blue? That might change with their tribes, because just like human beings, they have different tribes too. One of their tribes is Norse. The Norse people were Nephilim. They were, that's why they're so renowned, right? Because that's why they, everybody was afraid of the Vikings, because they were of giant stature as well, and they were good fighters, man. So it says here they have glowing eyes like an angel, although their glow is somewhat dim and grayish in color as opposed to the bright white or bluish white glow of regular angels. Bluish white. Again, it's all throughout this channel, my channel. If you go through just the playlist, or not the playlist, the video list, and look at the titles, you'll see I talk about these things a lot. Sometimes I switch titles and I just use a picture, because they like to, there's certain things you guys really need to know that they shadow ban a lot. Nephilim's eye color is also related to the angel who sired them, whereas Lucifer's eyes were red, his Nephilim childs were golden. Again, they are tribal like us, so I do believe those things change, just like they stated. Nephilim were stated to have been quite destructive with their powers. True. People on the show stated that whenever Nephilim grew into their full power, entire worlds died, causing them to be forbidden by the oldest laws of heaven. As a result, they are considered as unholy beings and abominations. Unfortunately, that seems to be true. Although I'm of the mind anyone can repent, they just seem to not be able to in themselves. But I don't think God is life, love, and light. I think they've been lied to just like we've been lied to. They've been told that they're automatically, God doesn't want them, God doesn't want to talk to them, and I don't think that's necessarily true. So anyway, moving on. I'm seeking truth here, and if you're not a truth seeker, like blunt, raw truth, then you're on the wrong channel. Even if it hurts me, I need the truth, because these beings, whatever they are, ruined the most important thing to me in this world, and that was my relationship with my children. This is another reason I do this. This is my penance. This is my amendment. This is me trying to make a difference. A mother, now this is important. This gets into the mothers. A mother pregnant with a Nephilim can ignite a Bible upon physical contact. It was revealed that carrying a Nephilim is always fatal to the human mother. That's key right now in the times we are in. Have you noticed how few people are around? The Handmaid's Tale, that was big just a few years ago. I left social media when they started targeting me in the beginning around 2018. I left for about a year, but I kept my accounts on there. I went on to check on somebody who was pregnant when I had left social media. She was pregnant again, and her child was already like 2 years old. That's not normal. Again, this is why they also mess with time. This is why, for whatever reason, they seem to be taking minutes off of each day. I don't know how long it would take. I haven't looked into it. But maybe because they've been waiting for their Antichrist to grow. I don't know. But you'll find out here, they grow really quickly too. Now, according to lore, it's always fatal to the mother always dies. I don't know if that's true. These beings like to end the mothers. They die in every Disney movie, or they end up being someone who leaves and they're just raunchy. So take that with a grain of salt. Again, some of this is true. That's why I do this. Okay, so here we go. It's always fatal to the human mother, and even while it's still developing in the womb after the parent's copulation, it was said that at that point a Nephilim already came into being. Theoretically, removing a Nephilim's grace will turn them into a normal human, as removing the grace of an angel would turn them effectively human. Blah, blah, blah. It is later revealed that the Nephilim's grace is what holds their human and angel halves in balance, and when they lose it, their two halves come in conflict with each other, causing the Nephilim's body to shut down progressively. The only way to revert this is for the Nephilim to recharge their grace, which God is how we get our grace. So take that with a grain of salt as well. There's one more thing I'm looking for. Give me a second. Okay, they're saying they are superior to regular angels because they have human grace and angel grace. But I, again, don't know if that part's true. Due to their human souls, Nephilim, at least when their grace has been removed, can go to a human afterlife, such as heaven or hell, though the shadow believes they belong in the empty due to their half-angel heritage. Okay, I don't know if that's... Again, I told you I believe anyone can repent. Okay, so this is the history according to this show, according to the wiki page. The last time there were Nephilim walking the earth, God himself had to intervene in order to remove them from the planet. A Nephilim's, it's actually revealed that a Nephilim's heart is actually part of a spell to expel all angels from heaven. That's weird. In a show named Lotus, while possessing somebody, the president... Okay, so when he was an imposter. When he took over the place of somebody, they conceived a Nephilim. And because of that, and that was all they did, was possession. Through possession, they created this Nephilim, okay? Now, the other thing is that they grow... I'm trying to find it here just because I like to have references for every, things that I say, and I say, hey, this was here. They grow in 6 months, really quickly. So, theoretically speaking, it could be an infant, and then you could not see the child until Christmas, and then you have a full-grown adult, like a sea monkey when we were kids. Think about that. I think that part is true. I'm not even kidding. Why do I think that's true? Well, the infertility spoken of in Jasher and in the Bible, okay? Then we also know that the mating already happened, and we know that there were Nephilim on the earth before the flood and after the flood. If these things of incubator babies is true, which it would seem to be because you have incubators all over the place in hospitals now, this seems to be how they tried it out or tested it out. If you... And I didn't want to touch on this topic. Why would these beings want children of ours if they hate humans so much? Well, one, they can't get to God, so they want to ruin us. The other thing is as a source of sustenance, as a source of food. I'm not food. I don't consent to that. My Samson isn't food. Right now, you should state it very plainly that your family is not food. Human beings, mankind, not food. Okay? But yeah. Nephilim are part human, so maybe some can talk to God, then repent. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I would like to think that they can because, I mean, I love God. And I would, I hate to think that, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. That's the other aspect to this, too, is they're calling this dream world Tartaria, and you have all these people now wanting us to live in Tartaria. Tartarus is the root word of Tartaria. In the Bible, Tartarus is where God sends all the fallen angels and imprisons them. That's why there's no toilets. They can eat, but they don't have to eat. In Tobit, he appeared to eat to Tobit, so he looked human. But once he dropped that facade, he never needed to eat anymore because he knew he wasn't human. I saw people, there's something I put up about that too. We'll go over that in the next article or next video. We're going to look, we're going to go back to the history more and look at Jasher and Enoch. And I found an interesting chat on Reddit and a couple other places from way back in like 2010. People were talking about this. And again, the level of cognitive dissonance and the level of subterfuge that we're facing, because looking back at these conversations from like 2011, 2012, 2010, people had the opposite ideas back then of things. It's wild to be alive in a time where everything flips and even you're questioning, okay, what's real anymore? That's the way they want it. They want us off balance. There will be resolution to this. It will not be the way that they want it. But you need to understand that certain things do exist. Putting your head in the sand or in the corner and saying that they're not real is not going to make them go away. We have to be adults and deal with our own accountability and the bad choices that we've made. And we also have to deal with the fact that we've given over our agency to all these other beings. They created politics. They created the system. They created the money. Think of Disneyland. When you go to Disneyland, they have their own tokens, their own money. You have to walk all day long, which is work in and of itself. You have to walk to get to these different places and use your tokens, or you have to, trade some type of currency to get the tokens, and then you can eat what you want there. And hello, no one sees the relation to the system. They're training little children how to use money, and you can get all these shiny things if you have these tokens and all this, that, and the other, if you trade away your life working. Why do they want us away so much? Because to split up the family. They have many different goals. The main one is to destroy the human soul or to acquire it for themselves. That's the main goal. The other one, beside that goal, is to maintain control of planet Earth. With all of us being so complacent and enjoying the entertainment that they bring us, nobody's really speaking up. And all it takes is praying each day or declaring aloud. What did I say when I first started this journey? Oh, I said, I'm taking my free will back. I said it out loud, and it's like my whole life got really quiet and everything went in slow motion. It was a very strange thing to behold. But you don't realize you have a problem with cognitive dissonance and brainwashing until you realize you have a problem. Until you see yourself from the outside and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm operating on autopilot all the time. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Because if you look at our system from the outside, it's pure insanity. We're doing the same things, repeating the same patterns, expecting different results every time. That is the definition of insanity, and it's their system. They created it. And right now you have another whole generation of hybrids that they made. There's a baby boom, in case you didn't notice, with the people who are left. But they grow really fast, and they have really big appetites. Where did all the parents go? Ask these questions when watching people about Satan's short season, and I'm going to end this with the little devil's advocate. Let's say they added 1,000 years to the calendar. Let's say that's a J and not a 1. The year of Jesus, this year, or what have you. Why would they want you to think that there was 1,000 more years than there was? Because they'd want you to, and these people, this will show you how double-minded the people are who are teaching about Satan's short season. 1,000 years was added. If 1,000 years was added, why was it added? To make people believe Christ's reign already happened. It's circular reasoning. They do in their own theory. If 1,000 years was added, follow me here for a minute. If 1,000 years was actually added, right? Why would they do that? To make people think the millennial reign already happened. And right there, all their theories about this being Satan's short season fall apart. It's a deception. If they added 1,000 years, well, that proves it right there. You can't talk about the 1,000 years and Satan's short season and not see that they don't get along. I only see the cognitive dissonance because I spread myself out and I listen to a variety of different theories. I have no favorite personality on YouTube. I sub and I unsub indiscriminately, and I do it often so that I can get a wide variety of different experiences from all over the place, allegedly, to hear what other people are saying. And also so they can't manipulate my algorithm. You'd be very surprised at the technology and at the fact that some of the channels that you see probably are tailored just for you. just to influence you. You say, why me? I don't matter. But you haven't figured it all out yet. God has each of our experiences tailored for us. That's how loved we are. Because we couldn't learn otherwise. God knows us better than anyone else. He sets these Easter eggs in front of us like a video game. Each of our lives is tailor-made just for us. It would suit nobody else. Think about these things. We are loved. But again, I just want to know, if this is Satan's short season, number one, why are you saying buildings already burnt? Buildings, that doesn't happen. The great fire doesn't happen till after Satan's short season. The cognitive dissonance, what part is not meshing here? And if the J is really a J and not a 1, and they added 1,000 years, and they're faking us out with fake history, it's to make us think that Christ already happened. Why? Because they want you to believe that Trump is some hero or whoever they put in his place, and that we're entering a golden age, and they want your guard to be down. They don't want any pushback. They don't want any fight, and they don't want exposed. And that's why channels like mine are suffocated and shadowed. Start asking questions. Look into the little inconsistencies that I just brought up, because they need addressed. If you're going to talk about Satan's short season as an actual thing that might be happening right now, then you need to address these other issues you're pushing. You need to fix these things, because the fire is after the short season. And if they added 1,000 years, that means Christ didn't really rule. That means we're at tribulation and not Satan's short season. So which is it? Because somewhere along the line, some of this is fake. They can't all be the same. The Nephilim, they're having fun, man. And they are having fun. They love this shit. Mrs. Kirk does not care that everybody's talking crap on her. And that's not her real name either. I know her name. Not going to say it yet, but I know her name. Hi. Told you, I know all these people. I don't want to know them. I don't want to be where I'm at all. They're not who they show you. They're all proxies. All of them. You have to learn the eyes. The soul really is behind the eyes. And these beings change how they look and who they jump into, like the movie The Fallen. I know it sounds wild, but if you know a person and you know their spirit, you will recognize them no matter whatever vessel, container, or body they're in. You'll know that spirit. But you also know that they're using that system of the false reincarnation, the transmutation of soul. I think, I can't say this with complete certainty yet, but they're only using that because they're damned. They can't go. They can't continue life in the normal way, the life cycles. And a lot of women have signed off on this. Like I said, I know these women. I know them, that when they mention people who talk about the Nephilim, they're talking about my channel. It pains me to talk about this. I don't want to talk about this. This is family. This is people I know that I thought were just people. It's destroying to a person. I have been destroyed as a person in this life. God has me, right? My soul is good. But like, I want no part of any more of these games. And most of you should be sick of it by now, especially after 2019. However, things aren't as bleak as they look. We have helpers helping us. And it's very possible that our government, whatever fallen angel was above us, has been banished and is gone now. And that's why we're seeing the chaos. And that we have more freedom right now than we actually realize. But we're not going to know that unless we test the theory and we start just doing what we want and we quit listening to what the little boxes and screens are telling us. Because again, none of those people get your groceries for you. None of them feed your family. Why do you care who's in the office? None of that matters. What matters is who's in your home and who's in your heart and who's in your mind. I love you guys. Have a blessed day. We'll talk more soon.